X-Pac 12360, featuring weekly news, insider commentary, and interviews with superstars, past and present from the world of pro wrestling.
A new day is dawning for DX.
And now, your hosts, Sean X-Pac Waltman.
Welcome to X-Pac 12360, everyone. Right here on the Jericho Network on Westwood One.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I didn't forget to say Jericho Network on Westwood One this time.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, a lot going on. Had a really good weekend with a really really scary hour there on Saturday. I lost Lula for an hour, and it was just absolutely the worst. Yeah. Nick Hausman's joining us. Can you hear us, Nick?
Yeah, I mean, I just heard what you just said about
Yes.
Lula.
Yeah.
I know that dog is everything to you. I mean, were you even the same person for that hour?
It was the worst. If you talk to people at like Glacier was there, QT Marshall. I was at their school. They have a school that's inside this NFL Combine training facility outside of Atlanta. It's an amazing facility. They have a great school there, and so I was teaching my seminar, and it's all enclosed there, and so Lou was just kind of running around, and next thing you know, Bill Barron's, my agent, happened to be there too, and one of my agents, and all of a sudden he goes, "Where's Lula?" And she was gone. She'd vanished, and things went south quick. Like I lost it. I was really, she was nowhere to be found, you guys. She, and they looked everywhere and over again, to the point where, okay, now people are in their vehicles. There's like a dozen, maybe 15 people out, like in vehicles, scouring the whole area, onto the freeway, everying. And I'm even in the back of a truck, and I'm yelling, and I'm not one to do this even, and I got down on my knees in the back of this truck, and I was like praying to God, making deals with God, and I don't do those type of things. And so we got back after we didn't find her, and so they looked at the surveillance camera footage, and they could see her run towards the door and then run back in, and so they said, she's got to be in here somewhere. So we went looking everywhere again, and finally there's this one door that no one could look in because it has a keypad lock on it, and it's been locked the whole time. So they get the they think they can hear something in there, and so they call someone and get the combination. Open the door, and there she is.
Did you guys ever find out how she got in there in the first place?
I don't know. But here I am, and I'm making all these deals with God now I got to keep. So
Maybe it was a blessing in disguise.
Was she just chilling, or was she?
She wasn't happy.
Okay.
She was happy to see me, and you know how she makes all those noises. But if I've been out of the room for a while, she wasn't that upset, considering she was locked in that closet for a better part of an hour.
She got crazier when you left her in the hotel in Manhattan. Right?
Absolutely.
Is this the first time she's ever wandered off?
She didn't really wander up that far, and if I had been paying attention to her, she wouldn't have wandered off.
She's like, I'm going to show you.
And yeah. That was awful. It was absolutely awful. Any feedback, Nick?
Any feedback on how you nearly lost your dog? No,
Yes.
I was just really scared that when you opened the door, that Lula was going to be handcuffed to the ceiling, and Kai and Ty
Or
was going to be
something.
there with the big.
Oh my God! Wow.
She has no wee-wee
She
to
has
choppy
nothing
chop.
to Actually, she's got a little tutu down there that could probably. Anyway.
Not anymore. Kai and Ty got to her. That whatever I don't even know what you're talking about, but that is gone.
I mean, and then when I seen her, I lost it. I started bawling, crying, and I'm down on my knees and I'm hugging her, and people want to come up and touch me. I'm like, get the F away from me.
I need a second, okay?
Yeah, like, please, Jesus.
I've seen that side of you. It's amazing because you are like one of the nicest people. But if somebody kind of gets in your space like that, especially when you're with Lula, I remember we went to the sushi restaurant here when you came to Chicago, and they were going to let you sit with your dog, and you were not having that, Sean. You put your foot down and said, I am eating this sushi with my dog. Here's my paperwork.
Yeah, we're in Chicago, and so when I was doing the Royal Rumble viewing party with Nick,
right,
and we go into the sushi restaurant, and they're like, you can't have her. And I pull out my service animal thing, and they're like, no, you can't have her. Maybe you take something to go. I said, I don't think you understand. Federal law dictates that I can bring her in here and eat in your restaurant. Is there a problem with that?
I don't know if you can tell by the way Sean's speaking, but nobody in this restaurant spoke English. So anyway, continue.
I'm paraphrasing. Anyways, I got my way.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Per usual.
Yeah, but anyways, there's a lot, a lot happened. Also, I had a really good match after that. After you
lost her?
Yeah, I drove to this place called Canton, Georgia, and I had a match for a promotion called Georgia Premier Wrestling, and I was in a 6-man, and it was with this team called Georgia Heat, who they're over in their area, so that's good. And I worked with QT Marshall, who's a guy, like, he's done some ROH stuff, and he's pretty solid. Not pretty solid, he is very solid. This big dude, this big monster, like 300, like 350 easy, and it does strongman stuff. His name was Cyrus, I think he called himself, and he was really good. And there was another guy. We had a really good match, but there was this one guy, Nick.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of a guy named Cousin Shaggy? He does a hillbilly gimmick down in like the Georgia area.
I haven't, but I like the name a lot, and I'm a big fan of hillbillies, so I'm all ears.
He's a legit hillbilly. It's not a gimmick. The guy is legit hillbilly. And he has no teeth, and he looks like he's about legit 65 years old.
Oh, okay. I know exactly what I know. In my head, it's like I'm in Appalachia right now. There's a big steel pot. I don't really know what the head of what animal that is in there. Got it. I'm right there with you.
And he's really skinny. He's like anyways, he's like 205 live size. Okay. But when you look at this guy, you're going like, there's no way. The guy has no teeth. He's got gray hair. Like, it's just, he went out and he killed it, and he was over, and it blew me away. And he got back, and I'm like, how old are you, man? He goes, 38.
What?
And I just started dying laughing. I said, I'm 45. And I said, forgive me, for stating the obvious, but you don't look your age at all.
Wow. It's fine.
Anyways,
you're not the first big name wrestler to accidentally say something on the slide of somebody. Yesterday, Robbie E., I was talking to him.
Yes.
He said I look tubby. He said, he like straight up called me fat in an interview. It's the only time I've ever been called fat in an interview. It made me very uncomfortable.
Yeah,
but
Robbie.
Did he say fat or did he say tubby? Because tubby's, more nice.
A jolly version of fat?
Yeah, that's a nice.
He said that based on my Skype picture, it looked like I had eaten too much during the holidays, which is like a nice way of being like, you look like a tubby fat guy, right?
Yeah.
Which is why I'm in the gym now, because I feel fat.
Well, motivation.
Oh, is that why you just got back from the gym?
That and Liz wants me to be working out. So this is my 4th time in the gym in 8 days.
Hey,
so
but I borrowed this quote from somebody. You can't out-train a bad diet, Nick.
Yep.
Trying, man. Lots of water, tons of water. I'm off the fast food. I never drink soda anyway. I go into the gym about every other day,
That's
3 times
good.
a week. Yeah, I'm inspired by you, Sean. Right? I mean, we all say nice things about you. It's your show. But you're a guy. I mean, I've seen the photo. There was like the fat X-Pac photo where you're in your singlet from Raw. And
yeah.
You pointed it out on Twitter, and you're like, I'm glad I'm not that guy anymore. I was starting to see photos where I was looking like, fat X-Pac in a singlet.
Sure.
And I was like, time to make a change.
Because that's not just fat; it's skinny fat, and you don't want that.
Yeah, I know. It's because I'm a craft beer guy, right? Like that's like my big thing that is bad for me that I drink all the time. So. Lots of leg lifts, lots of crunches. I'm sure this is exactly what your podcast audience wants right now, right?
Yes. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Anyway, hey, since you said that, let's get to some news.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, this is a huge week for news, Sean. Daniel Bryan, I don't know if you know this or not, he's going to come back and wrestle now.
I heard there was a big scuttlebutt. Is that what that was about?
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. Come on, WWE. I'll do it right now. I'm going to take over.
Come on.
I'll take over your podcast here. Yesterday, WWE.com put out an official statement announcing that Daniel Bryan has been medically cleared to return to in-ring action for WWE. They put it out at about 2 o'clock, 5 hours before SmackDown took over the air. And that is literally the only thing we wrote about on WrestleZone for about 5 straight hours was just reactions from every kind of superstar coming back. I mean, I'll flip it here you a little bit, but I mean, how are you? Are you surprised by this?
Hey, Nick, and don't think I didn't notice that's all you guys covered yesterday.
And that was it. It's like we were trying to get some stuff out there, but man, this is one of those things. It's one of those, every so often a story comes along that just touches every single person in wrestling. And some people a little bit heavier than others. And there was just so many people. I mean, you had Brie, his wife, doing this emotional response. You have Triple H, his former nemesis, who's, welcoming him back. You've got Paige, who's dealing with her own neck issues right now, saying that Daniel Bryan coming back gave her hope. I mean, there was like a 20-sided die of different perspectives on what Daniel Bryan's return meant to different people. I mean, what did it mean to you?
Well, I was just really, really happy for him, man. Just to simplify my answer to your question, all I could do is just have a feel good moment for Bryan. I totally can understand, because I deal with some of those issues, I know how scary that can be. Just the prospect of what's in store for the future or things like that, and also I just had to quit doing what I love doing and not on my own terms, and so I'm really happy that it turned out this way instead of Bryan having to leave WWE to do what he wants to do to be happy.
Now, when Daniel was going through all this, he was fighting to try to get back into the ring. Obviously, you're close with Hunter.
Yeah.
What was his vibe through this? I've never really gotten an idea of, we all heard Daniel Bryan about his struggle, how hard he was trying to get them to clear him. We never really hear anything from WWE management. I mean, what was their struggle like going through these last 2 years?
That's a good question, Nick. I didn't really pry when it came to that type of stuff, but I just know that, I just know that it was that. Everyone knows it's that important to Daniel, to Bryan. I don't really dig as much as you would think I would into things like that.
I know, that's why they like you.
Yeah. Well, some of them. Some do, some don't.
Well, now that he's back, though, I mean, we are on the road to WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Everybody wants to know what he's going to do at Mania. I mean, it does seem like after SmackDown with Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn beating him down, there's going to be something there with those two.
Do you think there's going to be do you guys think there's going to be a
four-way?
Do you think he's going to be in a match, actually?
Yeah. I think so. With all the hype, it would be kind of silly not to put him on the card, especially right now, because that when he comes out, he is going to get the biggest pop of the night. I feel compared to anybody else at Mania, it's going to be Daniel Bryan. Oh my God, he's back.
Yeah.
Especially in New Orleans where he won the title.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I think the rumors, they say it's going to be Sami Zayn, Kevin Owens, and Daniel Bryan and Shane. It's going to be a tag match. That's the rumors.
Well,
that's not too surprising. I mean, Sean, you pointed out a while ago you thought Shane was getting ready for another big match for Mania, right?
Of course. Yeah. I saw, as soon as I saw he was looking yoked, pretty jacked up. I'm like, it was, and he kind of implied as much when I saw him. What was it, last week, 2 weeks ago?
Okay.
When we were at SmackDown. Yeah, we had a nice conversation. And he looks really good, man. He looks really solid and really good shape. So I knew, right? I knew when I saw him. Like I said, when you know what you're talking about. When I mentioned that a few months ago, like I knew right then, and I was 100% sure of it, Nick.
Well, and the thing about Daniel Bryan is, he infamously like hid seizures. It sounded, like it was really bad. There was good reason to keep him away from the ring.
That's right.
I'm really happy. Obviously, he got cleared. Yeah. There's nothing this man obviously wants more to do than wrestle. But as you've said, you've dealt with similar symptoms and things like that. Watching Daniel Bryan get to fly around on Tuesday night, I mean, throwing those kicks, getting laid out in that pop-up power bomb onto the ringside apron there. Were you happy for him, or were you kind of a little bit like, oh, I really hope this guy's not biting off more than he can chew here?
No, I was happy for him. Yeah, trust me, I don't think they just ran and jumped right into the deep end of the pool right away, Nick.
I don't know, man.
That's just what we saw.
Well, but that's the thing is, like, Paige came back, right? And within 2 weeks, she was back out, And so, I don't know. It's like maybe because I look at the news every single day, like, too much. I start to kind of see patterns and stuff. And I don't know. I was watching, and I'm not, I've never had a 5-star classic or anything, but I was watching him throw himself around. The way he falls when he goes do those running corner kicks, fall out on his shoulders there, kind of hitting his head off the ropes a little bit. That's always kind of been his style. That's what led him to having his body get so beat up. I didn't know if you watched it with it through a different eye and felt like maybe, I don't know, there was any kind of danger there. That's all I was wondering.
I wasn't as concerned about it, but I will say this: comments from a lot of fans were things like, "Oh, it's about damn time." Actually, it's exactly the right time. Not a moment too late, and not a moment too soon, because they had to make really, really sure and have a lot of different opinions on this, I mean, people can selfishly want to see him back in the ring and in a match, but let's make sure that he can do it and not cause any permanent damage.
That was definitely the pros, because he had already had all these doctors that were clearing him. We were basically just waiting on the WWE to clear him. And now that they've cleared him, and considering how long they waited, I feel like it gives me, and it should give other people, like, a peace of mind, saying like, okay, they finally did it, then they did it for a reason. Also, we've spoken about this in the past, where wrestlers, like, they come back from an injury or whatever, and they have this mentality thing, and I kind of feel like some of the fans that were, like, maybe a little bit nervous seeing Daniel in the ring, it's because they kind of had that thing, like, everybody had been talking about him whether or not he was medically cleared or not, that now everybody's thinking about it, or some people are versus others that are not. But if you think about it this way instead, is think about the fact that Daniel's been the one getting all of these tests done. So that's why the focus is all on him. But all these other wrestlers haven't been tested like this. So if you think about it, like, you can find, like, they've had this discussion before about CTE, and you can find traces of it in all athletes. So it's not just like Daniel Bryan. So this is why we're just thinking about it and seeing it. Like, that's why some people, I guess you can say, were like cringing or nervous to see him back. Well,
that's it. Here's the thing about CTE is they talked about recently being able to detect it in living people, but all the athletes they detected in are deceased. Like, that's the only way they can find out. Even up right now, like, technically, you have to be dead for them to go in and find out whether you actually had had that going on.
But it's different levels too. It depends on, like, there's a study about hockey players who eventually, one of them actually committed suicide, and the thing is he fell into depression and all this stuff. So there's different symptoms. If you are in a sport where concussions is a thing, you can kind of see certain outliers as far as that. But the thing also with Paige is, and I know a lot of people have talked about it on the negative sense. When she did come back, she was a little bit heavier. And it's not heavier muscle-wise, so I don't necessarily know. She might have been physically okay to clear, but she might not have been doing all the training necessary, and that might have been the issue.
I don't know. I mean, Sean, did you see the spot where she got kicked from behind by Sasha and she went down?
Yeah, I don't know if her being in better shape would have helped her out on that one or not.
Yeah, I just think she snapped her neck. I mean, she just whipped her neck around, right? She's come back from neck surgery, and I think that she just wasn't expecting the kick, right?
And yeah, when you're first coming back, even if you're at the performance center training all the time, you're not on the road. You're not going to be, it's just not, it's not the same.
Yeah, and I actually think she came back in comparable shape. She's gotten I hate to say a little thicker here the past couple of weeks, but that's because you're not working out. I mean, when you're dealing with a broken neck there, you just can't go to the gym and train the same way. So your body's going to change accordingly with that. So that's my take on it anyway. I did want to ask about Daniel Bryan being back now. Before the big one that was we're never going to see him back was Kurt Angle, right?
Yes.
Kurt came back. Now Daniel's back, right?
Yes.
There's a third name out there that's kind of that I don't know that he would ever come back, but now I'm kind of wondering maybe will he come back? And that's Tyson Kidd. Have you had a chance to talk to TJ recently, or
that's
have
a
any
whole
idea?
look, Nick. We're not talking about concussion issues there.
I know, but Kurt was neck issues. Daniels was concussions.
Okay.
Everybody's a little bit different, you know.
There's and I broke my neck twice. I have cervical fusions. I've got titanium and screws in my neck to this day. That caused me problems actually still. But what we're talking about here with Tyson Kidd's injury, most people that get that injury die from it. He had a I believe it was a fracture of the occipital vertebrae, or C1, like up that high. Yes, that's almost like he was almost decapitated. And I know that sounds crazy because, when people think of decapitation, they think of like getting your head completely cut off. But no, that like his skull. Like, did you ever see the? I don't know.
X-rays?
Yes.
Yeah, it looked bad.
It's a whole nother level of neck injuries, even though they're in the same category. You guys, not gonna happen. I hate to say it. It's just not gonna happen.
Yeah.
I don't want to say no hope, but man, I just think it's crazy in that one particular. And when I first was like trying to give TJ like encouragement, like I didn't understand just how bad the surgery was or how bad the injury was.
Well, like, I don't know. I watch Total Divas now, totally not just because my girlfriend does. But on Total Divas, one of the big storylines that actually culminated in the series finale about a month ago was Tyson got back into a ring to help Lana train to become a better wrestler. And, he wasn't flying, post to post like Daniel Bryan was. I don't even think he was leaving his feet, but he was in there working with talent. And I don't know.
Was there an issue? Did anyone have an issue with it?
Natalia.
His wife, Natty, you know. But I don't, outside of that and the kind of, reality show drama that was going on, I was shocked to see Tyson or TJ back inside of a wrestling ring in any capacity, helping to train wrestlers and stuff. And that's just kind of why it got my brain going a little bit, because I don't know why they would start playing into that storyline on Total Divas of, Tyson's back into a ring where could this, unless it's just something they think would build buzz. But the man also looks like he wants to, he's like Daniel Bryan. You can't take the wrestler out of the wrestler,
I would be really, really surprised in that particular case. And I don't want to be that guy because I really, really like TJ.
Yeah.
A ton, super good guy. And it really breaks my heart that like things got, that things got ended for him in that way. But I just think it's kind of crazy to even think about it.
Am I the one changing topics here? Am I the headline guy? I don't know. What am I supposed to do?
I don't know. Do you want to, what do you have there, TK?
We have new Hall of Famer entered. So Mark Henry has been entered into the WWE Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So they announced that. They also announced that Edge and Christian are going to be actually inducting the Dudley Boys too.
Yeah. I'm glad they did Mark this year. I wish they would have gave him like a little bit better of a send off, like creatively, like in a storyline.
Man, same goes with Christian, the guy inducting the Dudley Boys of the Hall of Fame. You know, he's another one that kind of just disappeared all of a sudden, was never given a proper send-off. I always wondered why that was. Christian and Mark Henry had such great careers, you know?
Well, Christian's not. Is he done?
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
last I talked to him, I mean, he seems pretty well just transitioned into dad life now.
Yeah.
He seems just like barbecue grills and cul-de-sac parties.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I don't know. I just, Mark's in the Olympics, you know. What do you get, the silver or the bronze? Anyways, he medaled in the Olympics. And he's had I think, a pretty damn good career. And I really, really enjoyed working with him. I had matches with him. I'm going to, for instance, I had a handicap match, China and I versus Mark Henry. That was amazing. I had a tag match with Mark Henry. It was unfortunately on the same pay-per-view that Owen passed away on, and it was Kane and I versus Mark Henry and D'Lo, and we opened the show for the tag titles, and it was great. And I didn't put out maybe I should have anyways. But there's so many people that congratulated Mark on Twitter, and I didn't neglect to. I purposely avoided it just so people didn't bring up to me dressing up in blackface like Mark.
That's what I was going to bring up. I swear, as soon as you took a breath, I was going to be like, let's talk about that. You know?
Not that I'm afraid. Like I don't avoid. It's just, you know, I just wanted. I didn't want to. I didn't want to insert that into the Hall of Fame conversation.
Yeah,
I'll insert it. How did Mark feel about that? Have you talked about that? Have you guys?
Yeah. He was fine with it. Like even later on when like I saw him, Godfather and Ron Simmons talking about it on a table for three, and they were all like, oh, you know, wasn't coming from that, but I'm not fine with it now.
Yeah.
That's all. You know, and there was nothing bad meant by it. It's just now the things I know now, like I'm a little bit, you know, embarrassed by it.
The social conscious has changed over the past year.
Yeah, it has. It has.
My favorite Mark Henry moments there was when he was doing the strength of feats and he would get the pan and bend the pan. I remember seeing that and being like, oh my God, that's insane. That's something I miss. One of my memorable Mark Henry moments for me personally.
And you know, he was such a champ at like doing that stuff with Mae Young and all that. Like I thought he did a great job on all that stuff.
I will share. I was actually I think it was Mark Henry's. I think it was his first time ever in a WWE ring in public. This was 20 plus years ago. I was a little kid. But he's from Houston. I'm from Houston. We used to go to all the Houston Summit house shows down there. And Mark came out. This was before he was on TV. Did a little interview with Jerry Lawler, wearing the All-American tracksuit head to toe, All-America. And it was, I'll never forget this, because Mark was out there interviewing Jerry Lawler, and out of nowhere, through the entrance ramp, this casket shot down the entrance ramp, and behind it was Mankind and Paul Bearer at the time. And they came out, for whatever reason, confronted Mark Henry. It's the first time I ever saw the World's Strongest Slam. He hit Mick on it, rolled him into the casket, and put him in the back. So I want to ask Mick if he remembers this. I'm going to get to see him here in a couple of weeks. But that is my earliest Mark Henry memory, and I think it was like the first time he was ever in a WWE ring.
Wow. I met Mark at Madison Square Garden. He was still training for the Olympics. He was about ready to go do the Olympics. Yeah, and he was with Mauro Di Pasquale, who was the head of our drug testing program back then. So
so WWE had their eye on him for a long time then.
Yeah, well, they signed him while he was still training while he was on the Olympic team. They signed him to a 10-year, $1 million contract.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but that's only $100,000 a year. But still.
But back then.
Well, even back then, that's really not that much. When
Look, dude, $100,000 in a year right now, I will take it. I'll bid frying pans. I'm working up to it, man.
Yeah,
I'm getting
it all sounds good until you take out all your expenses, your road expenses.
No, but I'm very happy for Mark. That was the thing, is I saw people were like, has this guy really had a Hall of Fame worthy career?
Absolutely.
And it's like, come on, guys. Of course he has. He's been in countless memorable angles. And what do you think? Should he wear the salmon jacket to the Hall of Fame ceremony?
I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah.
That's what he wore when he fake retired and then beat up John Cena, right?
Oh yes, that is correct.
I think he looks great in that.
Best angle he's ever done was that angle.
Yeah.
Who inducts him, do you think?
I don't know.
I think it should be you and blackface. I think you come out, you bury the hatchet. You know,
Be like a Ted
Yeah,
Danson,
that's not a
Whoopi
good
Goldberg
idea.
situation.
Yeah,
That didn't work out too well.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, we're
idea.
good.
Either way, they also had a really awesome video package for him. I really liked how they pieced together, like how they were saying, like when he was like, I had just seen that footage for me was awesome. Like seeing him lift stuff, and I was like so impressed.
Is that everyone that's going in the Hall of Fame then this
I
year?
think that's it.
This is the full gamut
Yeah.
of them. Should be a good Hall of Fame.
All right. So what else is going on?
So not only is he a wrestler, he's going to be going into business as well. Rey Mysterio, he's going to be a co-owner for Aero Lucha, which is a promotion that started out last year.
Yeah. Yep.
Someone on Aero Lucha staff?
Yeah.
Well, I'm pretty excited, that's for sure. I can tell you that. When I read the news about Rey Mysterio being a co-owner, I was just like super ecstatic because I was like being a part of Aero Lucha and then seeing somebody like Rey Mysterio come in is really exciting for the future of the company. And the other cool thing that they're doing is the fan-owned Lucha company where people can give money, and then obviously there's like certain tiers where you own the company, you get to make some decisions, and there's like a bunch of like information more on like certain tiers, how much you pay, what you can get, which is pretty cool. Honestly, like hearing about this and seeing it all kind of pieced together, like as a fan, as somebody working for the company, I can't help but to be like super excited about it.
Yeah. This having Ray as a co-owner of the company and them doing a public offering. There was a recent change in like Securities and Exchange Commission regulations that now allow for like $1 million to be raised in this manner. I'm pretty sure I have that correct. And so like trust me, look for other companies to be starting up and trying to do this after this Aero Lucha stuff. I guarantee it. It happened back in the day, back when I was first starting wrestling. There was a promotion that was started in South Florida called GWA, and Malenko was involved, and like Rusty Brooks, a bunch of other people, and they raised a bunch of money like that. Mind you, the investors never got their money. It didn't go well for the investors, but that was back then. So
I know I'm going to change topic a little bit here,
It's
but I know
okay.
you invested in the XFL. Speaking of investors, they got XFL got competition this week.
yeah, I read that. And I got your text message about it too.
Oh, good, because you didn't respond, so I didn't know or not.
Sounds
But
about right.
but yeah, no, I didn't know. Based on that news, as we're talking investors here, if you're Vince McMahon and you just got $1 billion put to the side, and this story comes along, how do you react to that?
Well, that's the thing is like Vince isn't a reactor. He just he takes time and sits with things and doesn't just react to them as much as people like myself do. That's the reason why he's successful. But I'd be pissed.
Right?
Yes.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, and I especially be pissed because of the name that I saw on that other project, the last name Ebersol.
I was about to
I'd
say,
be
I thought him and Vince were
frickin'
boys.
yes.
Yeah, I thought they were tight.
Yeah, but that's Charlie Ebersol. That's not Dick.
Dick's on the board of he's on the board of directors.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
wow man.
Dick
And
is
they
on the
beat him to the punch, right?
Yeah, and they're coming out next year.
Yeah,
A
2019.
lot of the same rules that Vince was talking about. A lot of the rule changes. No more extra point kicks. No more kickoffs. No more onside kicks. Family friendly. I mean, it sounded like the XFL, right?
Yes.
The only difference here is they're going to start a year earlier. They're going to do 8 teams of 50 players per team.
Are the teams going to be owned by the league?
No, yes, it's the same format as XFL. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
the league is going to own the teams. It's not going to be a franchise model. They have a deal with CBS where there'll be one game a week in season. The season goes from like mid-February to April 4th. 8-week season, 4-week playoff season, and one game a week will be on CBS. I think the rest will be streamed online. I didn't get a vibe on what venues they're going to be doing this in, but it did make me think these guys are about to go snatch up 400 available high-quality football prospects from across the country a year before Vince has a chance to do something similar.
And sorry, keep going.
Well, I mean, it just really deletes the pool of talent that you have available if you're going to be doing something 12 months later. XFL or NFL's got their first pick of the litter. This promotion's going to come in, take the next 400 in line, and then you're getting third dibs here.
Yeah, and they also have a TV deal in place?
Yes.
Yeah, CBS. Yeah.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm looking at the news and I hear what you're saying about how Vince isn't reactionary, but I'm starting to wonder if the whole XFL thing coming back was like a fever dream, right? Where it was like flared up for 48 hours and it's almost like it didn't happen. I haven't heard a peep about it ever since.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. What do you like? I'm not even going to speculate right now on what's going to come of all that. Do you think they'll just scrap the whole idea?
I would, man. I would, but I don't have billions of dollars and like all the gumption in the world and nothing to lose. So if he wants to go for it, go for it. It just did. It smacked of like somebody with a little bit more money and clout coming in and just swooping it out right up from underneath you, and you find out in a press release.
Yeah. Wow.
I know. Considering that you still, probably have paper stock framed on your wall from the XFL. I thought I'd ask you.
No, but I do have the jacket in mint condition.
Well, I mean, it's going to depend. They only have we're 2018 now, so they only have a year to kind of put that all together. So in theory, it sounds amazing, but I mean, the first time Vince did it with XFL, that's the reason why it kind of fell apart. So with this new league, it's like it sounds great, but will they be able to put it together and will people actually watch it? And how it's kind of more about the product when the product comes out, because they can still fail. So, I mean, it just depends on how it all rolls out. And there's so much competition on television as it is with Hulu having their live streaming stuff and Netflix, and like it's just going to be, how they're going to put this product together.
Agreed.
The thing about it is wherever they end up, as far as on a TV slot wise, you don't need to perform that well to be considered success ratings wise anymore. Like if they really, the number they'll have to do to be considered a success is not that big. They'll do it. That's how. I mean, I really think that they will. Whoever it does. I mean, at least if they don't deliver a decent product, it's not gonna.
It's the product. Because if the product is good, then the sponsor will come behind them. If the product's not good, then, I mean, it's not gonna make the cut.
It's still just one more thing muddling the waters before Vince gets his chance to do it.
Yep.
If it's a success, it's going to be hard on Vince. If it fails, and that's a lot of the same ideas that Vince was using, I don't know. It just seems like a headache for Vince, no matter how it goes down.
Yeah. So. Yeah, don't expect to see Vince blowing a gasket in public over this, but yeah, I'm sure he's not happy.
Yeah, I would love to be picking up the phone. God damn it, Dick. What the hell are you and your kid doing over there?
God damn it, pal. All right.
That's the only impression that Liz thinks that I do well, is my Vince McMahon impression.
I have a question.
Yes.
Do you think Taker is going to come back for WrestleMania?
Yeah, don't be silly.
I feel like he already did his thing. I don't want to see him.
So they're just teasing everybody for nothing. They go, psych.
Yeah, I kind of feel
that's what WWE does.
I know. I kind of feel like he put the hat in the ring. It's like he's done his thing, and it just seems like I'm not really feeling the storyline for it. So.
Well, I'm glad everyone else is feeling it.
I'm not feeling it.
Here, I'll go off the beaten path because,
Okay.
I'm with you where I don't really feel. I'm not feeling. It's kind of weird because it's like John Cena's trying to do a shoot program with the Undertaker, who's like a mythological being. That's a little odd for me, right? First of all, right?
Yeah, well, but isn't he gonna come back at WrestleMania with the with the motorcycle and the Kid Rock song and all that stuff.
That's the rumor with that. Yeah.
That's not how he came out at Raw 25th. Like,
but I don't think a lot was put into that thought-wise, obviously.
But that's the thing is, like, I feel like if that's what they were going to do, I would have absolutely left him off Raw 25, right? He didn't really contribute that much, and it would have been more appropriate for him to come back at Mania, the Raw before Mania. I am Mark Calloway. The Undertaker has gone back to whence he came, but if you want to pick a fight with me, you want to pick shit with Mark Calloway, I will absolutely accept the challenge, and I'm going to knock your ass out at WrestleMania.
Yeah. So, and as far as, like, last year's WrestleMania, I knew that wasn't going to be Mark's last match. I was sitting there with Sam Roberts watching, and he was telling me, oh, this is it. And I'm like, I guarantee you it's not. 100%. And I was right.
So
that's
weird.
No way. That's not how you there's no, I knew that he wasn't going to want to end it on that. That's not where you don't want to hang your hat on that.
Well, speaking of, you talk about Taker coming back with the Kid Rock and the motorcycle. Kid Rock's, going into the Hall of Fame. I know you guys are friendly. What kind of a reaction do you think Kid Rock gets at the Hall of Fame?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm sure there's going to be some, I think it might go a little bit along party lines.
You think it's going to be a
lines.
political response?
Yes, I do.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I agree. I'm glad you bluntly said it like that, because I think you're right.
Yeah. I wish it wouldn't, honestly. I wish we could leave, like, I wish we could put that aside once in a while.
I think the timing of it was just off, given everything that is been happening in other places and the stuff that he's said in other events and stuff like that. It's not that he doesn't deserve it. I just think the timing of it is just, off. Whereas he might, like, everybody would be happy for him in a few more years or a couple of years ago. Whereas at this moment, it's just kind of like, whatever.
Yeah. What are you gonna do?
Nothing
what are you gonna do, Nick?
You're gonna get your propane dome at the cocaine home. I don't know. I used to know all the lyrics to Kid Rock songs. I tried very hard there.
Ball with the bada bang a bang.
Diggy,
Jumped
diggy,
up
diggy,
the boogie boogie.
Set up the boogie. Yeah.
Hey,
Still one of the best
I'm
albums
3'9" with the 10 foot.
The ladies pick a crazy hick. Sorry, yes. I grew up in Texas.
I love this.
This
is great.
I went through time like a bum through wine.
Well, you're not allowed to heckle at the Hall of Fame. There's signs everywhere that they'll kick you out if you boo or heckle. So.
Boy, they're gonna have to do a lot of kicking out.
You gotta get in the pit and love someone.
But they're still gonna do the WrestleMania portion where they all come out. So I mean, if you want to do
like
a
at
heckle there, then you can do it
everyone's
there.
just gonna shower booze there.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I mean, if you wanna.
At least he's getting a reaction.
Yeah. I don't
Hey, is there any other news?
What do you think of the Ultimate Deletion that happened?
Oh yeah.
Mark that. Pull that.
I thought it was excellent. It was so wacky, silly, crazy, different, and I'm sure some people are crapping all over it. I was really entertained. I really was. I loved that. I loved when the drone had the big hologram pop up out of it. That was classic. So, what do you think, Nick?
I thought it was great. I know a lot of people out there, or a lot of hardcore fans that loved the final Deletion originally, were upset that you couldn't say prepare the field for massacre, right? It had to be annihilation this time. There were little differences. It wasn't quite as hokey, quite as graphic in some cases. It was a little bit more tame.
Yes.
But with that said, I like that they didn't give it all away, right? Because I very much think that in this case, knowing that you've got some time ahead of you, knowing that you've got the production company that you've got in your back pocket, I think it's smart to give people enough to get them excited and then hold some stuff back. I mean, this style that Matt Hardy has created with Jeremy Borash is not going anywhere.
Yeah.
From what I was told today, I'm actually about to run an exclusive here on WrestleZone. I chatted with some people close to the situation here, and it sounds like Vince, while he did think that this was going to be a bomb, right? Like he thought it was going to fail. pleasantly surprised by the reaction it's gotten online. They managed to do over 3 million people for the third hour.
That's right.
Including the overrun, which is an exceptionally respectable number to do in that third hour. It didn't do a crazy increase, but it maintained, if not did a little bit better than usual, and opens the door for more of this.
And they did a pretty long overrun, Nick. It was like 15 minutes over.
Good. Yeah, and the thing is, I'm watching it, and I actually had a couple friends over, and Liz didn't see Final Deletion, so I was like, just brace yourself for this. But I had a couple friends over, and we were watching it, and it was just such a blast. It was, and I'm looking at it, and I'm thinking about the casual person who's flipping through channels, right?
Yes.
And if you're flipping through channels, and you see WWE, and you see Kevin Dunn's WWE, you know what it looks like almost like immediately. You can tell I'm watching WWE, and you either like it or you don't like it. But in this case, I feel like if you're flipping around and you see this and it totally looks different, you're like, what the F is this? You are so much more inclined to stay on that channel for a little bit longer and check out what's going on. And that kind of diversity, that kind of sampling on WWE television, more of that, please.
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yes, exactly what you just said. Flipping through channels, could care about wrestling, could care less about wrestling. I see that. I'm not turning the channel. I'm stuck on that.
Exactly. And I wonder if, I someday I'll get Vince on a podcast, but I do wonder, right? He's looking at this and he's been producing the evolution of pro wrestling production for like 30 years, right? He's seen it going from single shot, maybe a couple crane cams in big stadiums to, the slick Kevin Dunn production that it is now, refined. You see something like that though, do you say, man, how do we maybe do more stuff like this integrated into the casual product? Do you think that's something that crossed his mind?
Maybe. Is that something you think they should do?
It's different, right?
Yeah.
For years, I always wondered what pro wrestling would look like if it was produced theatrically.
You mean like Lucha Underground?
Yeah, like Lucha Underground, right? Like Lucha Underground.
Yeah.
But this, I think, took it a little bit step further in a way.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Just because, when Lucha Underground happens, they do stuff outside the ring that looks very theatric, but once they get into the ring and they start filming a wrestling match, it's kind of the same, right? They get out of the ring and they can go anywhere. You can fly into outer space. You can throw somebody to Montaza, whatever you want to do, right? Yeah. But in this, the actual wrestling match, you had all these angles. You had underscore to it. The actual way the wrestling match was filmed, I thought was very, very different. And
it was well put together too. I really liked the match they put together for that. It was very smartly done.
Made sense. Matt just got right on top of him and just like a rabid animal was just pounding on him,
Yeah.
I thought it was great.
Yeah.
I agree. Where were the Bludgeon Brothers in the dilapidated city? That's what I want to know.
Honestly, before we saw this, people could have what it was great, right? But I think before we knew what it could have been, people could have had the assumption that it could have been really terrible. Oh, they're not gonna do this right, they're not gonna do this right. But when you're watching it, granted there was a little bit of differences where there was more wrestling involved in this one. There wasn't as many people coming in and doing really ridiculous or everyone saying hokey stuff. But basically having those differences, it turned out to be okay because the difference was that in TNA we got to see the progression of Matt going crazy. So it was little by little where it was building up, which is why it made it so wow. Versus here in WWE, he's been losing and now he's gone crazy. So it's a little bit different. And I think that having the WWE do their version and TNA doing their version, it's great because you don't want them to do exactly the same thing, but also still have that same charm.
Sure.
And I think it was there in different pieces, in different ways.
I agree.
One kind of controversial part of Ultimate Deletion that I absolutely have to ask you about, Sean, is Jeff Hardy.
Yeah, I was just about to mention that.
Yeah, they left Jeff in, and he added a DWI over the weekend.
Yeah. I personally don't have a problem with that. I mean, there hasn't been a court he hasn't pled guilty or anything to any of that yet. But I don't know if they would with the lesser star if that same
situation would have
presumption of innocence would be applied.
Is this just gonna drift away to steal a Uncle Cracker lyric there?
Maybe. I don't know. I think once it like comes to once there's a court appearance and something like officially happens, I think they'll deal with it then. I think they're just trying to get through WrestleMania at this point.
Uncle Cracker didn't sing "Drift Away," did he?
Well, he covered it.
Oh, he did cover it. That's why he was in head. Sorry.
Yep.
That's what I was thinking about the last couple sentences you spoke. Apologize.
Oh, so you weren't even paying attention to what I just said, right? Pay me back.
Sorry, it's very important. Yeah, I was bummed to hear Jeff did that. So anyway.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
Well, no, Dad, it's like, and at this point, are you surprised that Jeff hasn't kept himself out of these situations?
I think he's done a pretty good job considering where he was at one point in his life. I think if we look at, because I've been there, I was where he was, and so I know, and it's amazing that he's been doing as good as he has. A lot of people don't understand. I do. I'm not going to get into details because it's not for me.
Well, that was one of the reasons why he never, like, when people tried getting Jeff to say anything bad about TNA, that's why he never did, because they helped him, they helped put him through rehab. So when people were expecting him to say something bad about them, he was like, no, because they helped me out during, a really rough time in my life. And I think it just sucks to hear that he's kind of, I guess you can say, gone back to that, because you don't want to hear that about him or about anybody, and especially knowing that if he's not in that, how much potential there could be.
Yeah, it's I wasn't even going to really comment on it, but since we're talking about, it bums me out, but we'll see. Well, we just got to see what happens.
I'll flip it up here.
Yeah, help me out here, Nick.
I wanna talk about Mustafa Ali. Can I talk about how much I love Mustafa Ali?
Yeah, let's talk about it, because we're going to have him on the show today. We got a little mix-up, so we have you on.
You're obviously looking for another high-qualified luchador cruiserweight to fill in. I understand.
Well, what it is that I know that you guys are close, and you're from the same neck of the woods, and you even managed him on the independent scene.
I did. Yeah, I managed. I went back. I got your message on the treadmill, and I was like, man, I want to go back and find out when was the last time I worked with Ali. It was 2012, 13, something like that. It'd been like 5 years. But when I got paired up with Ali, I had managed two like terrorist wrestlers, right? As Ronaldo Piven. I had managed the Sheik. There was just like a normal Sheik, a generic Sheik in Chicago I did a show with. And then the Almighty Sheik I managed for a time for Billy Corgan's Resistance. Right. And so when I showed up to Proving Ground, which is where I managed Ali, and I met Ali for the first time, they said, this is Prince Mustafa Ali. We want you to be his manager. I immediately was like, all right, what do we do? You're going to come out, say something, I'll translate it for you. I'll carry the flag. And he immediately shut that down.
Oh, you thought it was going to be some kind of Dirk stuff?
Well, I mean, Prince Mustafa Ali, that was the thing, is like I had been given these sheiks and stuff to work with, and I thought that's why I was getting brought in to do more of like what they had seen me do, right? I didn't know Ali for really much of anything at that point. I knew he had some buzz from the scene, but that's about it.
Yeah.
But when I came in and I asked him, I'll never forget, he just immediately shut it down. And he said, we don't do that kind of stuff. I don't do that kind of stuff. I am Prince Mustafa Ali. I am one of the greatest wrestlers in the world. You are my manager. You're going to help me cheat to win, but we don't play into any of that stuff. And from that moment, I immediately had a ton of respect for Ali, and it is no surprise to me to see him where he is right now. Incredibly gifted performer. He is 100% a guy that lives or dies by his, I hate to say, like, respect for himself and the people around him. But he has a certain mantra that he lives by, and he wants to make the world a better place, and he wants to be a good person and make it better for his kids. And that is all real. This man was a Chicago
He was a police officer, right?
He was a Chicago cop. When I didn't really know that when I was at Proving Ground with him, but we later went on to work at a company called Freelance Wrestling here in Chicago, and that's where I really kind of found out about it. And we worked there for a couple of years actually. And I would remember, Ali showing up. He'd be like, "Hey, Ali, how was your day?" And he'd be like, "We had to do a drug raid today. I had to bust in with a bunch of guys with guns to bust up a drug den on the south side." And I was like, "Me too,"
Yeah.
I mean, he is the real deal. I have never met, been more impressed, been respected somebody more than Mustafa Ali, and I mean that genuinely. I mean, he's a real inspiration, and I mean, I'll let you comment on his in-ring ability, Sean, but I mean, the guy is like butter in there in the ring as far as a cruiserweight competitor goes, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I just like the way he puts stuff together in his matches, and I like his choice of offense because he uses some of the moves I used to use. So somebody like, I think one of those, either he or Gulak last night. I was talking with both of them through messaging, and one of them apologized for the X Factor. I'm like, it was sweet. I'm like, why would you apologize for that? It was placed well, and finally a man's doing that move. Instead, it's been like one of the Bellas or one of the ladies. Nothing wrong with the ladies doing it, but I wouldn't mind one of the fellas doing it as well.
And he puts his own spin on it.
Yeah.
He does the dive through the ropes, roll, jump, X Factor.
Yeah, he also does it coming off the ropes. A guy pops him up and he drop kicks a guy, which was one of my signature spots back in the day. So, you know what? That kind of stuff, I notice that, and it makes me feel good.
Well, and I mean, just in general, I mean, what a transcendent kind of character, not just that he doesn't play into all the kind. I mean, not to say Jinder Mahal is going out there and being the Sheik or whatever, but he kind of is, got some 80s style anti-American evil forwarder sentiment to him. You don't see a lot of guys, if any, like Ali go out there, and I so desperately want to see him succeed. What a model, what a hero for kids in the Middle East, for kids in Pakistan. I shouldn't say Middle East. I think it's like Asian American. Yeah. But what an inspiration. Goes out and hugs his wife after his win, wearing a hijab at ringside. You don't see that kind of thing. We're in a culture right now where there is real fear of the other right now in this country. Yeah. And we need more characters like Ali. We need more men like Ali out there standing up and saying, "This is who I am. This is how I'm going to be, and you can roll with it, or I'll go back to being a cop." Whatever it may be, but Ali will not go out there and do anything he doesn't stand behind. I know that much, and I'm very proud to see him going to WrestleMania here and possibly winning that Cruiserweight championship. Yeah,
I know. I kind of picked him to win. I'm picking him to go all the way, actually.
I hope he does.
Yeah. What was I just going to tell you about him? You did such a nice job of talking him up just now.
It's like I was his manager for so long, right? Like I'm used to just saying nice things about him to the public,
Yeah, but so we're big fans of Mustafa Ali. Yeah. And I'm and I got to thank you for that, because honestly, there's a lot of stuff going on in wrestling right now. So you pointed you pointed him out to me. So
he's the real deal, man. And that's the thing. He's not Phil braggadocious. He's not going out there and cutting Ric Flair promos. He is a man. He is a man who wants to go out there and represent himself well, represent his culture well, and prove that through hard work and quality work, you can go out there and change the world and change perceptions. And I think that he's in the state of doing that every single day.
So now I know what I was going to tell you. The people like him. Yeah. The people like him. When you put a match like that at the end of a long set of TV tapings and the people are still getting with it like that, that tells me something.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's like, that, and wrestling culture has changed so much over the last 20 years. We talk about the evolution of just societal norms and things like that. And I'm not going to be ignorant to the fact that there are wrestling fans out there that are a little bit more closed-minded. There's also some that are more open-minded. But Ali, that's the great thing about pro wrestling. There's no words that need to be spoken. You can go out there and have a great match and let that speak for itself. And you could be cheering that guy, and when he rolls out of the ring and he gives his wife a huge kiss, and she's wearing a hijab right there, and he can make you for that moment sit there and think, whoa, that's not what I expected to see here. Maybe I can reflect on that moment there.
Yeah.
It's a little thing, but again, that's what makes Ali the man. And I put all the titles on him.
Yeah.
That's my opinion.
So let's talk about that match he had with Gulak last night.
They kicked the shit out of each other.
Yeah.
There are a lot of hard strikes in that match.
Yep. Good for them. You know what? Like, that's not, you can't, and just like the backdrop that he took, he said it was brutal off the announcer's table. But those are the things that you take those chances and you suck it up on things like that. It's like, you pay for it later, but it's a good call at the time. It's one of those things, well, okay, yeah, this is going to do some damage, but it's worth it. And it meant that was really good. People, sometimes things like that are wasted. That wasn't.
I'll quote Curtis Axel now. The chains are off in 205 Live, right? These guys are not supposed to go out there and wrestle like Raw and SmackDown superstars. They're supposed to go out there and wrestle like 205 Live superstars now, right?
No, that's just it. They're yeah, exactly what you just said. The chains are off. I told Hunter, I said, man, like this 205 Live show is about 100 times better.
Oh, night and day.
Yes.
Night and day better.
Yeah. And like to the point where I'm on board now. Like I've been critical. Well, not critical, but I had my doubts since the beginning of that 205 Live, and especially with the way it had been treated. But I'm all in on it now. Like I'm behind. I was always behind it, and supportive, but like I'm in on it and I believe in it.
Well, you said you were all in before, so I expect to see you here in Chicago September 1st. That's
actually I might be.
Good.
I don't think I'll be in the ring, but I think I might. I think we might show up for that podcast thing. I was hit up about it.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, come sleep on my couch, right?
Right.
You and Lula come over here. I'll make you some soup.
Yeah. Well, Ian's there. Ian lives right down the street from you. Ian, Ian Kaiser Sosa.
Oh, yes.
You know Ian from here.
Oh,
The guy from the Tomorrow Show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he lives like about half a mile from Nick.
Wow.
Yeah, maybe less. Anyways, who cares?
Fantastic end. All right. Wow. Way to go out, man. I feel like they're in the back. They're like, time to take it home right now.
Yeah. Hey, is there anything else?
We're all good.
New Japan this weekend. Anyone going to New Japan this weekend? Are you going to New Japan on Sunday?
I'll be there.
Here?
Yeah.
No,
at Palm Beach.
25th.
I'll be in Erie, Pennsylvania, talking to people about drug addiction.
Awesome.
Yeah, Lula and I. So.
I want to ask one last thing, and then
Yeah.
I'll wrap it up. I got one. What do you think about the Moolah name change? Appropriate, not appropriate?
Appropriate that they changed the name?
Yeah.
Of course it's appropriate.
That's all I want to know. Just wondering.
Yeah, and everything. Look, that's how it should go. Okay, hey, sometimes if we're in a bubble, we can be quite tone deaf. Look, I think that thing went how it was supposed to go. Ideally, okay. People didn't like it. They spoke up. They reached out to sponsors. WWE heard it, and they changed it. And you can go, like I had somebody like hit me up and go, yeah, well, they wouldn't have done it if it wasn't for this and this. Look, sometimes you should just take the win and not quite. You know what? This is one of those times. Just take the win. It's it put. I don't want to get off. I didn't want to really get off that much into it because I have my personal opinions on it, but
That's why I asked, because I know you.
yeah.
Like, I want to poke this guy about it and see if I get him in trouble.
Yeah, on my own show.
At least he's honest.
So-
I'm going to
Yeah.
put some crazy glue on the inside of your cowboy hat and put it right on top of your head, Sean.
Yeah. It was actually epoxy resin, Nicholas.
Oh, apologize, Shawn Michael. Apologize.
All right. Well, hey, let's. What else?
I think we're
I
good.
think that's it. I think we're done, Nick. And I appreciate you. Honestly, man. Like, all bullshitting aside, I appreciate you coming on and spending the hour with us.
Anytime, Sean. I will knock out a 30-minute exercise in 10 minutes. And I kind of I felt like throwing up at several points in this, but I didn't because I respect you.
Yeah. Thank you. And you got the WrestleMania viewing party with Mick Foley in Chicago. Want to remind people of.
Yes. Go online. Eventbrite is where the tickets are available. Get your tickets to Mick Foley's WrestleMania 34 official Chicago VIP kickoff party. Me and Ross Berman from WrestleZone will pick up as the host after Mick's VIP portion wraps up. But it's going to be a whole blast. Mick's going to be signing a whole bunch of stuff. We'll be doing raffles there. 2-hour open bar if you come as part of the VIP party. Well worth your ticket. We're going to be piling that on with some more fun incentives. And I will be down in NOLA for WrestleMania weekend if you are going to the Hall of Fame or Joey Janela's Spring Break. Access on Saturday or Supercard of Honor on Saturday night. I'll be in a suit. Come say hello to me.
Hey,
and that you love wrestling.
How about Joey Janela? He's so funny to me. His latest is Matt Riddle versus James Ellsworth.
Did you watch that promo video? That promo video is so funny. Like
no,
Ellsworth gives all his accolades, and then it cuts to Matt Riddle, and he's like, he doesn't even have a chin. It's just really cool.
All right. Look, hey Nick, I appreciate it, man.
Thank you very much, Sean. I appreciate it as well. You guys have a nice day. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
All right. So, anyways, I guess
break.
No, we don't need to take a break, do we? No, let's just
events.
Yeah, we don't need a break.
Bill, your upcoming events that I know of is WrestleCon.
Yeah.
So all 3 days you'll be at WrestleCon for that wrestling club with Mean Gene Okerlund, Al Snow, and Kevin Nash.
Yeah, and I'll also be on. Was it Saturday morning from 9 to noon? I'll be at Access.
Great.
Yeah.
For those WWE fans that want to come get your autograph and say
yeah, hi. And there's other events coming up, and we'll, I'll update my schedule, send my updated schedule to you, Jimbo.
Awesome.
So you can follow.
Follow me on Twitter at Jimbo in the booth. And
I thought you were going to say one more thing, Jimbo. All right, you guys can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram @ Denise Salcedo.
All right, so you go on Twitter, The Real X-Pac, IG, X-Pac12360, Facebook, X-Pac12360 Show. If you haven't signed up for the newsletter, you definitely need to. iTunes, 5 stars or better. Also, leave all your comments on YouTube. We really, really appreciate it. And I ran the marathon last week. I'm really, really sore, but I'm still collecting money for the next 60 days. If you want to donate for water pumps in Africa, everything at TK Trinidad.
All right. Did you guys already mention what anyways, at The Real X-Pac, all that stuff?
Yeah.
All right.
What were you doing last 30 seconds?
I was pinching it off because
I gotta go. Time to wrap up, guys.
All right, everyone. Hey, I really appreciate you guys tuning in, as always. What are you pointing at?
The Westwood.
Oh, yeah. And so anyways, we'll see y'all right here next week. X-Pac 12360 on Westwood One and Jericho Network.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, Sean Waltman, producers Mark Donica, Jimbo Frank, and TK Trinidad, and the entire X-Pac 12360 staff, we would like to thank you for tuning in. Like us on Facebook, rate and comment on iTunes and YouTube. Follow X-Pac on Twitter at The Real X-Pac and email us at xpac12360show@gmail.com.